All right, welcome everybody to Motivational Monday. It is Monday, June 22nd, officially the first day of summer, and I think it's the coldest day we've had all June here anyways. So I'm like in my sweater and I'm like cozy at home because the heat's off, but I feel a little chilled. So this was a request from a couple weeks ago, is to kind of talk about limiting beliefs or how that wires our brain. So this is a repeat of one that we did a while ago, but I hope that you like it. I hope you get something out of it. It's good to repeat things today every once in a while because we remind our brain of what we learned. So today I'm going to talk to you about the 5 most common limiting beliefs. As always, grab your glass of water. I'm going to throw a lot of thinking for your subconscious brain today, so it's going to need that water to make sure that the electricity is happening in your brain. Water ensures efficient electrical and chemical actions between the brain, the nervous system, and the sensory organs. Check in activity. Let me know how you're feeling in the chat box. If you're watching the replay inside the Facebook group or on YouTube, write it in the comment part underneath the video. It's important to check in with yourself when you do this type of learning because we do a checkout at the end, and it's really giving your brain evidence and also helping to put what you've learned into the memory banks and giving your brain evidence that you want to remember this, right? That you want to remember what you learned today. So we've got feeling better 7. It's a hot day in BC. Feeling busy, but the sun is out after days of rain in Edmonton. We've got headachy. Yeah, that's probably because it's been overcast here. Let's blame everything on the weather. Let's blame everything on the weather today. Yeah, we've got 7, 6s. We're kind of all like, 7-ish. Yeah, 7.5. All right. It's a great place to be, actually, to come to Motivational Monday, I think. Okay, I've got 2 quotes of the day. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And here's my second. I see lots of people going, yes, heads nodding. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. What do you think of that one? Let me know in the chat box. Because the first time I heard it, I resisted, right? I was really like, no, my deepest fear is that I'm inadequate. Right? But I'm gonna like explain this a little bit as we go along. I'm gonna explain this a little bit as we go along. So yeah, okay, this is a good point. Valerie said in the chat box, but we still worry about whether or not we will succeed. Even though we're afraid that we might be powerful, we are also afraid about succeeding. That's right. Okay, so let's talk a little review about the subconscious brain. It's always working for us. You know that myth that you only use 5 to 10% of your brain? That's a myth. The 5 to 10% is your conscious brain. The 90 to 95% is your subconscious brain. It's doing everything for you in the background. It's making sure your heart's beating, your lungs are breathing. It's sending signals through your nervous systems, to your skin, to your bones, to your ligaments, to your organs. Not only all of that functional stuff, it carries all of our memories, all of our emotions, all of our biology, our pre-programming. We're pre-programmed to smile, to laugh, to do all of those things. That all lives in our subconscious brain. So it is processing 11 million bits per second. And our conscious brain is only able to process 50 bits per second. So our subconscious brain is doing the core majority of our thinking, whether we want to believe it or not. For example, how fast can a message move from one neuron to another? Messages and the electricity that moves from our neurons to other neurons when we're thinking in our brain or down our body to tell my arm to move, for example, they move at 200, those messages, those electronic pulses move at 268 miles per hour. That's like 400 and something kilometers an hour if you're metric, right? So it's doing an incredible amount of thinking and programming. I want you to think about it as a kind of a computer, a supercomputer, right? And it's using what it learns from everything, from every sense that we have, every emotion that we have, every mechanical movement we make. It is using all of that information to program us. It guides our actions, attitudes, behaviors, and our choices. It guides our choices. It does all that work for us. And here's the thing. It thinks it's doing what is best for us. But I want to say this, and I need to add this in because this is an old slide. It thinks it's doing what is best for us based on what we've learned from our life experiences, our emotions, from all of this information it's gathered. But what it thinks is best for us is to protect us, is to prevent us from feeling any kind of pain, emotional, physical, mental, okay, social, intellectual. That is what your subconscious brain thinks is best for you. That is biological programming. It's about safety. So I want you to think about it this way. Your brain doesn't do what's best for you. It does what it thinks will protect you, and it also does what is the most familiar. Because if something's familiar, that's safe, even if it's not good. If you grew up in a home that maybe had toxic relationships, your brain thinks that is familiar because that's what you grew up with. So then it goes, you're going to have the same kind of relationships. But that's not what's best for you, but your brain mistakes that familiarity for safety because it would rather do something it knows than something it doesn't know. All right? So I want you to think about that. Okay? And this is basically what creates our mindsets, our perception on the world. We talked about this in Letting Go class last Friday as well, before we did our Letting Go meditation, about our perception of the world. And we get to choose, okay? Not only do we actually get to choose. And this is where the fun happens. We get to choose what tools we want to give it so that we can create change in the background. That is where we have control, right? So would that be why we can feel inadequate, is a question in the chat box? Yeah, we learned that somewhere, right? Or we learned that we're supposed to be maybe in toxic relationships, but we see examples of ones that aren't, but our programming says this is what you should do. So therefore I'm inadequate. That's a really great question. So we've all heard this term limiting beliefs, right? And I actually think this term limiting beliefs has been used too much. Most of you know how I feel about the term manifesting as well, right? And the term limiting beliefs, I think, is really, really directly connected to this idea of manifesting. Like, ignore your limiting beliefs, suppress them, repress them, give yourself an affirmation that is the opposite of your limiting belief, and your limiting belief will go away. Well, I want you to consider everything I just said and how deeply programmed those beliefs are. So we're just going to call them beliefs, okay? Because they're actually programming that's programmed into your brain. So that is what I'm talking about, but I think the word limiting belief is being overused in a way that's a little bit toxic, to be honest with you. Okay? Because if we go, oh, it's a limiting belief, well, there's something wrong with me because I have this belief. Everybody has them. Everybody has beliefs. Everybody has belief systems. Everybody has patterns. And when we use words like limiting or things like that, we're judging ourselves. And that actually doesn't help us get out of the pattern. Does that make sense? So it's a bit toxic. Yeah. Yeah, I've had limiting beliefs so bad and better since you've taught this in classes too. Thanks, Vicky. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about our programming. Okay. That's the word that I'm going to use, or our belief system. So, or the influence of your subconscious brain is another way that we can talk about it. Your subconscious influence. Okay. Which I kind of like calling it that better than limiting belief. So our deeply ingrained beliefs, programmings, memories, experience, they reside in our subconscious brain. And it influences our thoughts and our emotions and our behavior, right? So our subconscious brain is consistently influencing us. So if we can make that switch between saying, oh, it's my limiting beliefs, because then automatically go to self-verification, right? When we hear the word limiting, I'll never be able to do it. This is a limiting belief I have. It's holding me back, right? This is your subconscious influence. And it plays a critical role in shaping our moods, our emotions. and our experiences, right? So our subconscious influence is based on, I'm just saying this all in a different way. I'm saying everything was on the slide before in a different way, right? Our subconscious, our subconscious influence is from recurring emotional patterns. It uses emotional patterns that we've used in the past or learned in the past and says these are the patterns you should keep perpetuating or keep doing. It could be physical patterns, which we talked about in brain fitness this morning too, about biomechanically retraining our body. Maybe you had a knee injury and then the way you walk changes, and later on in life, it's going to give you a hip injury because your brain told your body to accommodate around that knee injury, right? So it could be physical things. It could be emotional things. It's all coming from a place of protection or a place of familiarity. Okay. And here's the thing. It is influencing our actions, attitudes, behaviors, and choices, even when we're not consciously aware of the underlying causes. And here's the other thing about the limiting belief stuff. It's always about identifying your limiting beliefs. And sometimes when we're on the healing journey, sometimes you can choose if you want to identify them or not, okay? Because identifying them isn't necessarily as important as recognizing the pattern that you're in. So let me explain the difference. If we're like, I don't know why I act this way, I need to spend so much time figuring out like the root cause of why I act this way, and you're spending all that energy doing that, and while you're doing that and you can't figure out what it is, you're still doing the same pattern that's harming you or your relationships or other. So actually the more important thing isn't the why, it's the what. What is the pattern that I want to disrupt or break? What is the programming that I want to tell my subconscious brain to disrupt or break? And if you can figure it out and it comes to you easily, like in a meditation class on Fridays with me, great. Right? Great. That means you're supposed to know. I call those aha moments because often when we have those aha moments, we go, oh, this makes sense to me now. But sometimes we don't get them, and that's okay too. Okay? That's okay too. There's a lot of pressure, right? On the why. So what is the subconscious influence? We have automatic reactions. Our subconscious mind triggers automatic reactions to certain stimuli, such as a sudden fear response to a loud noise, an immediate attraction to someone based on subconscious cues, or the opposite, the ick, or that person creeps me out, or immediately, are you my best friend? Have you ever had those reactions with people? Those automatic reactions, right? The influence of our subconscious brain, also our habits and behaviors, right? Our daily habits, they're rooted in subconscious patterns because it's familiar, it's easy. Our eating habits, our communication styles, whether we brush our teeth when we first wake up in the morning or whether we brush our teeth after we have breakfast. Habits can also be how we respond to stress. The subconscious influences our motivation and our goals. Our subconscious beliefs and desires or dreams influence our motivation and the goal we set for ourselves. If I think that I'm unworthy, am I going to set a goal for myself that seems like I don't deserve it or I'm not going to achieve it? Right? It impacts our overall sense of direction and purpose. So here's the thing about limiting beliefs or blocks that again, they're kind of called that in the manifesting world, this like coaching type world, right? There's no such thing as a permanent block. And there's also no such thing as being totally block free because there's no block in there. It's just your programming. It's just your wiring. It can change. Okay. But work has to be done for it to change. I also want you to get rid of this idea too. Okay. That there's people out there that have no negative subconscious influence or limiting beliefs or blocks, because this is what we put out on social media, or this is what famous people put out. Even the most successful people have them. Even Oprah has them. Okay. Even, Leonardo DiCaprio or like whoever your famous star is right now, right? We all, even the soccer players have them, and professional athletes have them, and they put themselves out there and take risks every day, right? Here's where the power is. First, you have to acknowledge that you are capable of not being stuck. That you can choose to get support to do the work to unstick yourself. So I'd like say it to yourself right now. I am capable of getting unstuck, because you absolutely are capable of getting unstuck. Okay? There is some reason in your life experience that created your inner critic or your habits or your reactions. It planted a seed in your brain about how you feel emotionally about yourself or others, like I'm not worthy, or I'm always going to be chubby, or I don't deserve love. But we can reprogram these things. It's when we don't explore them, right, that they continue to get reprogrammed, because the brain will just keep repeating patterns. Okay? It's when we don't explore ourselves, when we don't even take 2 minutes a day to have quiet and listen to our inner thoughts, when we avoid ourselves, when we lose the connection of the relationship with ourself, that this programming can rule us, and we can end up self-sabotaging ourselves. Okay? I've got in the chat box. Also, when others express their opinions of us and they validate what our limiting belief already is, right? But you got to ask yourself, who's expressing that opinion of you? Is it the person that planted the seed in your brain in the first place that made you believe that about yourself? Yeah, we've got yes in the chat box, right? So learning how to take people's opinions, I guess for lack of a better term, like with a grain of salt, or understanding where their opinion comes from and how it's influencing you is part of the journey, right? It's part of doing the work. Yeah, and we also have to remember that other people speak from their experiences. That's right. And that's kind of what I talked about last Friday in Letting Go class, about perception. Like what my perception of an experience might be is completely different than your perception of an experience, and we both shared the same experience. Yeah, that's right. And that's what gives us compassion and empathy, right? But I want to say this. The only thing that will ever hold you back from change is the belief that you have something holding you back from change. So let me say it again. The only thing that will ever hold you back from change is the belief that you have something holding you back from change. Okay? So you are capable of changing. So we need to get rid of this belief that you're not capable of changing, because you're changing all the time anyways. Our cells are regenerating, they're dying, they're regrowing, everything's happening. Your physical body is constantly regenerating. Your subconscious brain is not stagnant. It's always firing and wiring and moving. Okay? Yeah, this is a great one too. Comment in the chat is the word I can't. That's right. The only thing that's holding you back is you thinking you can't do it because you have something that's holding you back. So how do we discover our subconscious influence? Or this is what I'm going to say. There were several studies done, and a lot of these were primarily on women as well. And they wanted to ask, what are the most common disruptive thoughts that people have about themselves? So we can call these limiting beliefs, okay? But what's the most common programming that people, particularly women, have about themselves? And or they wanted to know what people thought. It was a huge study, big questionnaire, and they actually identified 5 that most people have. So when I'm saying these, and as I explain them, let me know in the chat box, either with a yes or an emoji, or just anything, a number 1 in the chat box, like anything you want to put in the chat box, or if you want to use a reaction emoji, if these sound familiar to you. Because the other reason is I want you to know that you're not alone in those inner thoughts. Most of us think similar things. So these are, according to the study, the 5 most common The five most where'd that word come? The five most common beliefs living in your subconscious mind, living in most people's subconscious mind. And I think I just froze a bit there. Okay. And you might not hit all of them, but I guarantee you're going to hit at least one. Okay. And again, I want you to think about this belief or this programming or subconscious influence. It's just a pair of glasses. Your subconscious is putting a pair of glasses on you that's going to skew your perception of the world. So are the glasses that you wear rose-colored, or are they limiting? Okay, the first one is perfectionism. And right away you might think, how is that a limiting belief? Perfectionism holds us back in this way. I can't start to take action until everything is perfect. Only perfect people are successful, and I will never be perfect. I'll never be as good as. Well, I'm not perfect. My creations aren't perfect. What I put out to the world isn't perfect, and therefore I'm not worthy. Anybody ever done any of these? I for sure do that. I can't put this out to the world until it's perfect. Right? I can't put my new project out to the world. I can't put a new course up to the world or a new class out to the world unless it's perfect. And I had to learn very quickly once I started owning my own business that I just got to put it out there and hope that, it's good enough. Okay. Yeah, we've got lots of yeses in the chat box. Okay. Yeah, thumbs up emojis. Okay. And again, if you're watching the replay, I'm really curious. So write in that chat box, whether it's in the Facebook group or on YouTube. Okay. Imposter syndrome. We've all heard this one. Right? Hands up. What is imposter syndrome? When you're qualified for something, but you believe that you're not. Basically. So I'm not credible enough to share my knowledge. And this often comes, I actually find this with a lot of clients when I'm first starting out with clients one-on-one over the past 20 years. This one comes up a lot in terms of, well, I don't have a master's or a university education, so therefore what I have to say isn't valuable. There's this huge weight put on that. And the thing is, your life experience makes what you have to say valuable. Right? But I hear that a lot. I really used to think perfectionism was the only way to be, and good enough is hard to learn in the chat. That's right. So imposter syndrome's, I am not credible enough. I don't have enough education for my voice to matter. Why would anybody listen to me? I'm a nobody. Or anybody ever have this thought? Why would anybody listen to me? I'm a woman. Right? I'm not good enough. I'm not talented enough. I don't have enough experience. And when you start thinking those thoughts, your brain literally goes to this fear place where it goes, I'm a fraud. I'm going to get caught. They're going to realize that I'm a scam artist, right? Anybody have those thoughts? You're not, right? But then your panic goes to, oh my God. Anybody, when you got your first job or your first adult job, did you have that thought oh my God, when I show up to work on the first day, they're going to say, actually, we reread your resume and you're not qualified this job and we're taking the job away? Because when I had my first 40-hour week full-time permanent job, I totally thought that, right? Oh my gosh, I'm going to go to work on the first day and they're going to say, actually, we made a mistake, right? Oh, this is good in the chat box too. We've got, or I don't know enough about. Right? And I catch myself thinking that. Sometimes I'm I don't know enough about the brain to be talking about the brain. And I know a lot. Right? So this is a common kind of limiting belief. Okay. This one's interesting. The next two are interesting. Fear of leaving others behind. So this fear of leaving others behind kind of goes to the quote where we said we are afraid, the quote of the day, where we're afraid of being powerful, of acknowledging our own power, because we think these things, especially if we're a caregiver or we're a people pleaser. If I grow and change, I will lose my relationships or my friendships. If I leave others behind, even if those people you leave behind are toxic relationships. I won't be able to make any new relationships and I'll be alone. It's better to stay in a toxic relationship than it is to risk not having any friendships or relationships. If I leave others behind, they won't survive without me. This is a big one with caregivers, with moms, right? If I leave others behind, they won't survive without me. I have a secret for you. They will. Okay, they will. Yeah, anybody having an aha moment with this one here going, oh yeah. The next one, similar, but the other side of the coin, fear of being a burden. I find that most people that have this fear of leaving others behind, like if I become really successful, it'll change my relationships because then everybody's going to think I'm greedy because I'm making money. Right? That's like a fear that a lot of people have. If I become successful, they're going to judge me because they're going to think I'm different. Right? So I find that a lot of people that actually have this fear of leaving others behind also have this one, which is interesting because they kind of butt heads, but the fear of being a burden. I don't want to take up too much space. I see this one a lot when I'm out observing people in community and things. There's like not enough chairs. And it's always the same person that's like, no, I'm happy standing. If someone offers them a chair, right? No, I'm actually more comfortable standing than sitting to listen to this lecture. I'm happy standing. Or someone's like, I'm going to go to the other room and get a chair. No, don't bother getting me a chair. I'm fine standing back here. Right? Have you seen that? Right? I'm not allowed to take up space. And I'm not worthy of being taken care of. Same thing. Don't get me a chair. I'm fine. I'm happy standing. Right? I don't want to ruin someone else's life. This is a really big one here. I can do it on my own. I don't need help, and I don't deserve help or support from others because I'm independent. There's a difference between being independent and capable, right? Between independent and isolating yourself and being independent and capable. And asking for help is part of being independent and capable because that's one of the skills is saying, I actually can't do this thing and I need help. Getting help means I'm weak. Yes, I see a lot of people nodding their heads. Yes is in the chat box. Thumbs up, right? Okay. Now this also goes with our quote of the day. We've got, oh, that's a big one. If I get help, I'm weak. That's a big one. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay. Fear of shining. And this goes directly to our quote. And this one, when I learned this one, it took me a little bit to wrap my head around it, but it makes sense. Okay. Fear of shining, fear of being the star, fear of being powerful, however you want to put it. If I succeed, I will make others uncomfortable. If I succeed, I'll make others uncomfortable because they'll think I've changed and they won't want to be around me. If I'm successful, I will change and therefore become a greedy person. If you're successful, that doesn't mean you've changed who you are as a person. It means you had an idea that was great and it worked. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person. Okay? If I'm a star, if I'm a superstar, if I'm a hero, if I'm a champion at my job or a champion at doing something, that means I have to leave my loved ones behind. If I'm successful or I'm a star, that means I have to leave my loved one behind because they can't be successful or be a star with me. But what about the fact that they want to celebrate you if you're successful and you're a star and they're really proud of you? They want to come with you on the journey. They don't want to be you on the journey, but they want to come with you. But we think I have to leave my family behind or my friends behind or my loved ones behind. Yeah, but it also means you're using your gifts, right? This fear of shining stops us from using our gifts. And many of us have gifts that are, intuition led, or skills that our subconscious brain learned through our life experience that actually come easily to us and are actually really helpful to others and ourselves, or our talents. Maybe your body physically is perfect for running, right? But not swimming, right? Using those gifts. That's right. So what can you do? So out of those 5, did at least one of them hit you? Did you go, I've thought at least one, if not all 5 of those at some point in my life? This programming has been in my brain or is still in my brain. This programming. So what can you do? Okay. The first thing is challenge the programming. Challenge the validity. Where did this belief come from? And here's the thing. If you can't figure out where it comes from, again, I said, the what is more important than the why. Okay? This is the belief I have. And if you're like really struggling to figure out why, don't worry about it. Just identify the what. Okay? Eventually your brain will bring it to you and you'll figure out the why. But don't force it. Okay? Here's how you challenge its validity. Is it absolutely true all the time that, let's go with imposter syndrome, that I'm not experienced enough or I don't have enough education to speak about the things that I speak about? No, it's absolutely not true all of the time, right? Remember, the brain likes evidence, so give it evidence. Remember that time I went and spoke in front of 200 people and got a standing ovation and they loved what I had to say? Yeah, so, okay. It's not a valid belief because I actually have evidence from the real world to say that it's not true. Find one really simple thing, right? I'm not worthy of love. Do I have any friends? Yes, I have friends. Right? I have a friend and I'm going to call them right now. Okay? Is there an example, and this is when your brain really fights back. Is there an example of anyone else in the world, anywhere in the world, where this isn't true? Right? So I want you to think, is there an example of anywhere else in the world where it isn't true that someone doesn't deserve love? Yeah, the person sitting next to me deserves love, so therefore I deserve love. Okay? So find examples of the opposite of your belief or your programming. Yeah, there are ways to strengthen your knowledge if this is an issue too. That's right. Okay. So we want to, first of all, we want to like question its validity. Okay. And we want to identify the pattern. But again, you don't have to identify the why. Or if you need support identifying the why, that's when you go to like someone like me as a life coach, or you go to a therapist, or you go to a psychiatrist, or you talk to a friend, or you talk to a family member that knows more about you than you know about yourself, right? If you want support, but find the proper support, right? So once we like identify the pattern and we challenge its validity, you need to take action, because in the consistent, persistent action is when your brain starts to reprogram. It starts to create new neural pathways towards that action that you want to do. Okay? So start doing the very things that your belief says that you can't, even if it's the smallest, tiniest action. And every time you do it, you've all heard me say this before, every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you follow through, you're giving your brain evidence that you can trust yourself. So if you go, hey brain, trust me, you're worthy of love, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. I'm going to call my friend and they're going to tell me that they love me, right? I know that taking the action can be hard, but let me say this to you as well. Being brave isn't not being scared and doing a thing. Being brave is being scared and doing it anyways. Remind yourself that feeling uncomfortable is okay. So if you're doing a small, tiny thing that goes against this belief or patterning, it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. When we feel uncomfortable is when we change. And I'm throwing every single quote and whatever I can at this workshop for some reason, but you've all heard me say the small and slow solutions are more impactful in the long run. Small solutions and slow ones, ones that take time and ones that build over time, are more impactful than the magic pill. Okay? And I want you to focus on the process, not the outcome. Because the thing is, along the journey of you challenging and rewiring and regenerating these patterns, there's going to be many outcomes along the way. And they're going to surprise you, and they're going to be joyful, and they're going to be breakthrough moments, and they're going to make you curious, and you're going to want to learn more about yourself. So focus on the process, not the outcome, because there's going to be so many different outcomes. If you just focus on the outcome, you're creating a limiting belief right there, because you're like, I want this to happen from doing this. Be open. Okay? The journey or the process is actually when we get the most dopamine. And dopamine is our motivator hormone, and it also helps us process things in structural ways because it likes to make plans. So if you're super focused on the outcome and not focused on the journey, you're actually not giving your brain enough dopamine to process through and change the pattern. Okay? So one step at a time, and be open to different outcomes. And embrace imperfection and authenticity. You don't need to be perfect to succeed. You just need to start, right? Be imperfectly perfect. Be authentically and unapologetically yourself in small ways at the start, and then in big ways. And here's a few other ways. I want to talk specifically to each one. Perfectionism, right? Specifically, I'm going to give you a couple reframes to the three big ones. Okay. Perfectionism, reframe it. Here's how you reframe perfectionism. Growth comes through the process, not through waiting for the perfection. So kind of what I just said, don't focus on the outcome, right? Take small, consistent actions. Imposter syndrome. How do you reframe it? You literally don't have to be an expert. Here's how I'm going to tell you you don't have to be an expert. Do you take advice from your friends? Are they experts on what they're giving you advice on? Do you want them to take your advice? This is the one caveat I will say though. When you're taking advice from friends with a grain of salt, and someone told me this when I was in my 20s, and I was like, yes, okay. They were like, if your friends are giving you relationship advice, and they're not in a good relationship or in a relationship at all, why are you taking that relationship advice from your friends? So think about your 20s when you're talking about your boyfriends or your girlfriends, right? And like there's always one friend that has so much to say about it, but they don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? So take that small piece into consideration as well. But the thing is that we listen to advice from all over the place. We listen to it on the radio, on podcasts, from our friends. You guys come here. You don't come in here every day and go, wait, can you like show me a photocopy of your university degree, Victoria? And can you see all, right? You don't have to, right? You're smart. You're capable of managing the information. Okay? So you don't have to be an expert, because your journey itself is valuable. Okay? Documenting your progress actually makes you relatable and inspiring to others. We're talking about your progress or where you are in the process is actually inspiring. Yeah, okay, this is a good example in the chat box too. It's like telling people how to raise their kids when you don't have any kids. Like telling people how to be a mom when you're not a mom, right? Yeah. And then here's how you can reframe that fear of outshining or the fear of leaving others. Okay? Success actually inspires others to grow. So if you're successful, whatever that means for you, you are teaching the next generation how to do that too. Okay? Success is inspiring. And as you grow, you attract new relationships that are aligned with who you are. And you also uplift those around you. Okay, so there's some of my reframes for the biggest ones. I'm going to give you a couple questions quickly. I'm not going to ask you to answer them, but if you want to jot them down, you can, or you can come back to the recording later. But if you kind of want to journal about this, because often journaling is a way that we can can discover what our programming is, you just start writing and then stuff comes out, right? Or you have a really good question and stuff comes out. The other way that stuff can come out when you have aha moments is a really good guided visualization or meditation class. Not a 45-minute quiet one, a really good guided one. And that, of course, that's what we do in Friday and Letting Go class. So my question for you is, which of the 5 limiting beliefs resonated with you the most? If you have a piece of paper, write it down. Acknowledge that that limiting belief might be a pair of glasses that you're wearing that's influencing how you see the world, that might be changing your perception of the world or yourself in the world. So I just want you to write down, I acknowledge. Okay? I acknowledge that this may be changing my perception of myself, others, or the world. What does that perception represent in my life? This is where we get into the journaling. What does wearing those glasses or believing this belief or programming, what does that represent in my life? I'll put that up for a second while you're still writing it down. Where do I think this programming came from? Do you notice how this isn't the first question? It's like the third question. And if you can't answer this question, don't answer it. Or make a guess. Think of a recent situation you had where this programming you had, this subconscious influence, affected your emotions and your reactions. So I want you to write down the belief again, write out the situation, and then write out how that belief affected you in that situation. It could be something recent, or it could be something from your past if you want to. Okay, you're learning about yourself. This is all about just getting information about yourself. And then I want you to do a reframe. Okay, so if your subconscious influence is imposter syndrome, for example, I'm not credible enough to share my knowledge. How can you write that in a way that reframes it? And this is incredibly challenging. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. And please, please do not put it into ChatGPT and ask it what the opposite is, because you're not thinking for yourself if you do that, okay? Think about it and come back to it, okay? So if you think I'm not credible enough to share my knowledge, I have unique experiences that I can share that help others. Okay, how can you reframe it? And then I want you to think, journal out, bullet points. What are some small actions that I can take to take action against this limiting belief, this subconscious influence? For example, say you struggle with perfectionism. Do something imperfect this week. Make a new recipe and share it with others, even if it's not perfect. Or here's an even bigger one that's a really hard challenge. Make a video of yourself and post it on your Instagram or on Facebook, talking about something. Who immediately went, oh, I don't want to do that. Right? Who went, I don't want to show my face. I'll have to put on a lot of makeup. What if I stumble? Everybody had that reaction, didn't they? Pretty good challenge for you. Right? Make a 20-second video. Post it in our Facebook group. It's a closed group. Make a 20-second video. Say, hey, my name's Victoria. I like being part of this group. I've challenged myself to put myself out there and put a 20-second video up. Okay? I see people rolling their eyes at me. I know. Okay? And then keep checking in and reflecting. So after you kind of do this journaling exercise, it might take you a week. You might do one question a day out of what I've just told you. Check in with how you feel. Do I feel like I have more control over that subconscious influence? Do I feel like I can talk to it more? Do I feel like I can say to myself, oh, I know that this is a subconscious influence and it's actually my brain playing a trick on me. It's not real. It's not true. Right? What insights have you gained about yourself? Were there any aha moments? Oh yeah, we've got, I wouldn't do a good job is definitely my reaction. We've got lots of people going, yeah, me either. Yeah. Okay. So let's use the word limited in a more powerful way. Here's the message today. We're no longer going to call them limiting beliefs. We're going to say that's my subconscious influence. That's my programming, and I can change it. But you are a limited edition with unlimited potential. Okay? That's how I want you to use the word limited. All right, everybody. We learned a lot today. I know that was I'm actually glad that was requested because I haven't done that in maybe 14 or 15 months with you guys, this one. And I actually realized I got to reword some things too, because I'm growing and changing too. I don't want to call it limiting beliefs anymore. I want to call it something different, right? So, we always learn why water's awesome. We learned about the sun-conscious brain. Listen, everybody, this is how you know I don't use AI and I make all of my presentations myself, because there's always at least one spelling mistake. Okay? It's all me. It's not AI. It's all me. Okay? We learned about the concept of limiting beliefs. We also actually learned about the concept of why I think using the words limiting beliefs is toxic and what we should use instead. And we learned the 5 most common belief patterns that women primarily have about themselves and how to reframe them and change them. Okay. Check out. Did you have an aha moment? How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? Is there any evidence that you want to write in the chat box for yourself to encourage yourself to change something? What did you learn today? Let me know. And if you're watching the replay, write in the comment section underneath, because I'm always really curious to see what people think of these videos. So while you're writing that, I want to remind all of you, if you're members, that one-on-one is available to you at a discounted rate for members. And this is what I do in one-on-one work, right? I guide you to reprogram your brain. I create specific visualizations, meditations for you, mantras for you that use specific words that work with how your brain works. I give you a lot of other powerful tools too. If you're not a member and you're watching this, like in the Facebook group or up on YouTube, you can also do one-on-one work with me. You don't have to be a member. You can either join our membership at myrecrio.health and get a discount, as well as all of our classes, or you can also email me to see if one-on-one work is right for you, because this is what we do. We rewire and we reprogram together. And I love doing it. I have so much joy. It's going to sound weird, but so much joy, and it fills me up so much when my clients, when you guys, class participants, share an aha moment, or I sense it, or it makes me so happy. And that's how I know it's my gift. Somebody put in the chat box, use your gifts. That's how I know it's my gift. It fills me up so much to help other people rewire, reprogram, and reframe. Okay, what do we got in the chat? We've got 8s, we've got thumbs up, we've got feeling encouraged. Maybe you're not feeling encouraged too. Maybe you're thinking, oh, I have got some deep thinking I need to do. That's a great place to be too. You can have dopamine and be thinking about deep thinking you want to do as well. Yeah, lots of good stuff in the chat. All right, if you're watching the replay, make sure you check out. I'm really curious and want to know what you thought about today's presentation, and we'll see you in the next.